Sometimes, history whispers. Other times, it shouts so loudly that we cannot ignore it. October 7th, 2023. The world watched in horror as Hamas launched a brutal, calculated attack on Israel. Children were murdered. Civilians were dragged from their homes. Women were brutalized. Families were destroyed. And as the world gasped, something darker emerged. Not just outrage, but applause. Not mourning, but justification. From university campuses to political circles, there were voices not only excusing terrorism, but embracing it. Douglas Murray calls this out with fierce clarity in On Democracies and Death Cults. This isn't just a book about Israel. It's a book about us, about the moral crisis in the West, about what we tolerate, what we excuse, and what that says about our civilization. Today, we're not talking about left or right. We're talking about right and wrong, and whether the free world still has the courage to name evil when it sees it. Let's go in. Douglas Murray opens with a chilling observation. We live in a time when evil is not only committed, but explained away. Terrorism is not new. What's new is the apologetic that follow it. The first key concept is moral inversion, where acts of violence are justified in the name of ideology, where victimhood becomes virtue, and facts are buried beneath slogans. The second is civilizational fatigue. Western democracies, once proud and principled, are now uncertain, ashamed, even, of their own values. This self-doubt makes them vulnerable, not just to attack, but to internal decay. Murray contrasts this with the fanatical clarity of death cults. Groups like Hamas are not confused. They're committed, utterly, to destruction, martyrdom, and the annihilation of pluralistic values. The question becomes, can a civilization that doubts itself defeat an ideology that believes in itself completely, even unto death? At stake is not just the future of Israel, but of liberal democracy itself. As Murray leads us through the ashes of October 7th, he doesn't just show us what happened. He shows us what it revealed. There's a rot in the moral imagination of the West, not because we're evil, but because we're exhausted, tired of defending ideas we no longer fully believe. He reveals how identity politics, once about justice, has been hijacked to justify hate. Victimhood has become currency, and in that economy, the most outrageous claims win. He shows how institutions, from academia to media, have abdicated their responsibility to seek truth, instead bowing to narratives, no matter how false or dangerous. And perhaps most heartbreakingly, he talks about the Jewish exception. Why is it, he asks, that no other nation is told to endure terrorism silently? Why are Jews expected to prove their humanity, even in death? This isn't just about Israel. It's about the survival of moral clarity. Because when the West refuses to call evil by its name, evil doesn't go away, it grows stronger. And still, there is hope. Because clarity is contagious, and courage, even in small doses, can awaken a culture from its slumber. So how do we respond, not just as citizens, but as individuals? Douglas Murray doesn't give us political marching orders. He invites us to reclaim our moral compass. Start by refusing to stay silent in the face of obvious wrong. Speak clearly, speak kindly, but speak. Challenge narratives that excuse violence, especially when they come from people who should know better. Support institutions that defend open dialogue and reject extremism. Whether it's your local university, a newsroom, or your social feed, truth needs defenders. Be skeptical of ideologies that divide the world into oppressors and victims, good and evil, based solely on identity. Life is more complex than hashtags. Teach your children to be brave thinkers, to ask hard questions, to love truth more than approval. And most importantly, don't let cynicism win. When we believe that nothing is true, nothing matters. But when we reclaim the courage to call things what they are, good, evil, noble, cowardly, we take the first step toward rebuilding a civilization worth defending. The events of October 7th were horrifying, but what followed was revealing. We saw a world that hesitated to mourn its dead, that debated whether kidnapped children were contextual, that tiptoed around terror, afraid of offending ideologies that openly call for destruction. Douglas Murray reminds us, civilizations do not die from external attack alone. They die when they forget who they are. And yet, in this darkness, there's a flicker of light. Voices are rising. People are waking. We are remembering that truth exists, that evil must be named, that life, flawed, messy, pluralistic, is still worth defending. So the next time you hear someone justify horror or excuse hate or redefine justice until it's unrecognizable, remember this: silence is not virtue, and clarity is not hate. This is not just a political moment. It's a civilizational one. What will we do with it? If this message moved you, if it stirred something in your gut, you need to go deeper. On Democracies and Death Cults by Douglas Murray is not just a book. It's a battle cry for moral clarity, for truth, and for courage. Grab your copy today. The link is in the description below. Share it, discuss it, let it challenge you. And if this video opened your eyes, like it, comment. What value do you refuse to stay silent about? Subscribe for more TED-style book breakdowns that matter in a world clouded by confusion. Your voice can bring light. Be clear, be kind, be bold.